This is an entertainment piece about my philosophy and technical development over many years of learning from mentors and adapting from experimentation, my own interpretation of the interaction of art and science as it applies to chainsaw sharpening. As you can see here from this shot of my custom-made Pumiceland Loggers wedge belt and tool pouch, I carry 3 different files and a stump vise on the workface, mostly for efficiency, but also for precision. I carry 2 different sized round files and a flat file for setting the drag height, or, as it's called here in North America, the raker. The file handles are custom made based on my hand size and filing posture to enable the sharpest and most accurate possible cutting potential for the chain. It is my intent with this presentation to once again outline my individual style of chain sharpening, while in a general sense convince you, the watcher, that no matter your chosen field of endeavor or craft, that at the confluence of traditional principles and your own iteration and experience lie the vital concept of precision. Art is something that quite rightly should be taken seriously. There is always something to an art that hides a deeper meaning for the artist, despite interpretation from the observer, and, if you think about it, because of it. With interpretation comes judgment. If the artist decides to remain anonymous, above the fray, shielded from criticism, aren't they then robbed of the opportunity for growth, development, and iteration of their craft? At the very least, they have no platform for communication and conversation about the piece, the process, the body of work, nor about what it is that they think, the discussion of philosophy. Arguably then they are imprisoned by the inner voices of their own critique, most often the harshest judge of all, at best repressing the creative flame, at worst extinguishing it. This is a small effort towards trying to impress on you that flame burns within all of us, and to compel you to feed it in such a way as for it to become a raging fire. In essence, to create the piece and then set it free in an endeavor to free yourself as the artist, unburdened yet emboldened by the uniqueness of that particular creation. I believe that all endeavors are a blend of both art and science, that the painter, much the same as the writer, blend the power of their mind with the tools that bring it to life, that a storyteller is nothing without voice or language, and that as different as process is, so too is style, even though evolution has tried to label it all. Our uniqueness must be consciously accepted, acknowledged, and celebrated. I'm not a qualified carpenter, trained joiner, nor cabinet maker. In this context, I'm a hobbyist with ambition and a desire to build a tool chest in a way that both stores and organizes my equipment for tree work and wood splitting. It is a tribute piece to all of the product and brand I used in my previous life as a lumberjack. But in this moment, I am a perfectionist, staring with consternation at the known flaws that separate the plan from its imperfect reality. While the artist can take some poetic license in the creation of the art and therefore be forgiven for explaining away some imperfections, consider this. A poet may never publish a great work. Were it, they might never be satisfied with the edits. A common refrain I often hear is that someone has potential, mostly in relation to a pursuit. I've come to understand that this is directly proportional to the amount of effort the person is willing to commit to studying and then for years applying the principles of said pursuit. Sharpening a chainsaw chain is such a pursuit. Taking a power saw smoothly and deeply into its torque curve demonstrates both that the saw chain is sharpened optimally and that the saw is efficient at maximizing its cutting potential, thus prolonging its usable shelf life by not overexerting it. Professional level chainsaw chain sharpening techniques take years of practice to learn. The purpose of this tutorial is to teach you the basic principles of chainsaw chain sharpening by linking it to the concept of efficiency and by encouraging you, no matter the chosen career path you're on, to, in a metaphorical sense, make that precision decision. Untangling a brand new chain right out of the box can be a study in frustration, but the first thing to know is that it must be handled carefully. Factory sharpened teeth are sharp, and so, as with all things relative to sharpening and using a power saw, be conscious, deliberate, have respect, and be careful. Once you have the saw set up with the chain correctly tensioned and clamped into the stump vise, the first and only thing to do at this point is to take out the burr left by the machine sharpened disc. A factory sharpened chain will perform well right out of the box, and by taking this burr out, you set up the gullet upon which the optimal techniques you administer after putting it to use depend. Dirt is the enemy of a sharp chain. So too are old nails, fence wire, rocks, and other abrasives that the wood may have grown around or rest upon as you're working it. There are several different types and sizes of chain, and while it's not vital to know all of the variables, it is, however, vital for reordering and general maintenance. The pitch of the chain must match the sprocket, and the gauge must match the width of the guide bar. After using the saw for a while, you will notice the speed of the chain's ability to cut and the performance of the saw drop. It is time to sharpen that chain. The damage to the cutting teeth will determine how many strokes of the file it will take to restore it back to being optimal. This chain, as pictured, depicts substantial damage due to hitting a rock while cutting firewood blocks for splitting. As you can see for this left side cutter, it took 12 strokes to bring that tooth into compliance using my dominant right hand on what I call the forehand stroke. What follows is a demonstration of the necessary filing angles and an explanation for when and why to employ them. This clip demonstrates the angle range from flat to steep on the top plate filing angle. For cross-grain cutting and softer density timbers, I employ a flatter angle. For cutting with the grain, let's say for cutting planks with an Alaskan sawmill or other mill of its type, and for cutting hardwoods, I employ a steeper top plate filing angle. Once, as mentioned earlier, the gullet has been set up, your file depth and size sets the cutting angle as distinct from the filing angle. A flatter filing angle will help mitigate damage to the tooth caused by contact to soil or other abrasives. Uniformity of tooth size and sharpness is critical for both powerhead efficiency and accuracy, or straightness of the cut. There will be a difference between how you can achieve the necessary uniformity on both left and right side cutters, caused by the stylistic differences between whether you are left or right-handed, or if you use a stump vise or not. While there are machines you can buy that will uniformly grind your chain, what I'm talking about previously here is a craft that takes time to learn. However, most importantly, I want to use this demonstration of the craft to emphasize thinking. For continuous improvement to occur, a lot of thought must go into the effort, first of all towards proficiency, and ultimately onto the elusive goal of mastery. By applying basic tools and principles in the field and on the workface. Now that the top plate filing and cutting angles have been outlined, let's discuss the side plate filing angle and the different chain profiles you have available. Super chisel is the fastest cutting chain, but it is the least tolerant edge relevant to contact with dirt, rocks, etc. Semi-chisel chain is a more abrasive, tolerant design, although the sharpening principles remain the same. As depicted here, the tang or drag, or the height of the tang or drag as it relates to the tip of the cutter, regulates the amount of timber the cutter is exposed to chiseling out, or the width of the chip. Too small and you're not maximizing the speed and efficiency of the chain. Too large and you compromise both by jamming the chain in the cut. It is set by the use of a flat file and needs to be adjusted down as the length of the cutter is taken back. A study of the cutter will reveal that it is by design decreasing in height as it is reduced by filing. As explained earlier, chainsaw sharpening is a nuanced task, best learnt initially with some coaching, and then rote learnt with consistently applied interactive experimentation and applied experience. As with all skill set development, have patience and take pride in your progress. Seek out and reapply constructive feedback with full commitment towards continuing education and improvement, alongside a positively reinforced attitude and culture of understanding the powerful interaction of invention, innovation, and ever-evolving applied principles and practices.